I'm Maddie. I've just been to the shops and I'm back with all the things I bought. Now, where is my key? Oh, there we go. There it is. This key helps me lock and unlock the front door. It's really clever. All I do is push it in this little hole called a keyhole. And as I turn the key, the door unlocks and it opens, just like magic. But it's not. Do you know how a lock works?
How does it work?
A lock and key.
Can you see that when I turn the key, this bit of metal goes in and out? This is called the deadbolt. And when the door is locked, the deadbolt goes into this slot in the door frame so that it won't move when I go to open it. But when the door is unlocked, the deadbolt moves out of this slot and the door can open once again. But do you know what happens inside the lock? How does the key make the deadbolt move in and out? Let's find out, shall we? I've got 3 different locks here, but they all work in the same way. Why don't we use my special camera to take a closer look and see how they work? This is the key. And this bit is the keyhole. The key goes into the keyhole and into a tube, and the tube is called a barrel. Now, when you turn the key inside the barrel, this bit, the deadbolt, moves in and out. Can you see that? And it's the deadbolt that locks the door. This lock and key is just like the one on the front door, but it's useful because we can see what's going on inside it. Great, isn't it? But what's really clever is that this lock will only work with this key. No other key will turn this lock. So what is it that makes this key so special? If you look closely, you can see the key has lots of lumps and bumps, and these bumps are sometimes called teeth.
They look a bit like teeth, don't they? The teeth on keys are all different, and they come in all shapes and sizes. So, how do the teeth help work the lock? When you put a key in a lock, it goes through the keyhole and into the metal tube called the barrel. Inside the barrel are lots of little metal pins, and each of these pins has a special position. As the key goes in, the teeth on the key push the pins down, and the pins then ping back into the gaps. Only if the pins are in their special position will you hear a click. This means you can turn the key, which makes the deadbolt move out to lock the door, or in, which unlocks the door so it can be opened.
So these are all the teeth on my key, and some are longer than others. Can you see? Now, I want to see these teeth inside the special lock. Now, as the key goes in, can you see that the teeth are making the pins move up and down? Can you hear that? I love the sound of those pins clicking into their special positions. And once the pins are in the special position, I can now turn the key, which moves the deadbolt in and out, just like that. But the really clever thing is that every lock is different, and the only key that will open this lock is this one. If I try to use the front door key in this lock, look, it doesn't work. And that's because the only door this key will open is the front door. Amazing. I think locks and keys are so clever. Do you? What was your favourite bit about seeing how they worked?
Can you remember what the lumps and bumps on a key are called? That's right, teeth. Did you hear the sound of the pins clicking into their special positions? And did you see the deadbolt moving in and out as the key was turned?
There are locks and keys all over this house. Let's see if we can find some. Here's one on my secret drawer. Here's one on the window handle. It's much smaller than the key for the front door, isn't it? Can you see how different the teeth are? Even the garden doors have a lock. I like looking out into the garden, although it's a bit cold today. Do you know what this is? Yes, it's glass. Glass is incredible because you can see through it. So even though it's a chilly day, I can see into the garden without getting cold. But do you know how glass is made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
Glass.
There's something here that's used to make glass. Do you know what it is? It's something I'm playing with. Can you guess? It's sand. Yes, sand is the thing you need to make glass. The same stuff you used to build sandcastles with. But do you know how sand is made into glass? Let's find out.
Inside this glass factory, sand is turned into glass. The glassmakers here create vases to put flowers in, colourful bottles, and lots of different glass shapes called ornaments.
All these lovely glass objects start out like this. They look like little rocks, don't they? Well, they are. They're little rocks made of sand mixed with chemicals, which turns them into white pebbles. But how does this turn into something beautiful like this?
This is Bruce, the glassmaker, and he puts our sandy pebbles into a very hot oven called a kiln.
It's so hot, I have to stand way away from it. Can you see the fire inside? That's what's making it so hot.
The sandy pebbles stay in the kiln for a whole night, where they get hot and melt.
The sand has got so hot it's changed completely. It's turned from sand into glass. But it's not like the glass in your windows quite yet. This is molten glass, and at this stage it's runny, like honey.
What you can see is red because it's so hot, but when it cools down, it will become clear, like the glass in your windows.
But how does Bruce turn all that molten glass into something as beautiful as this?
First, Bruce needs to make the coloured pieces that make the patterns on the vase. So, he heats up some blue glass to make it soft, and then he blows into a long metal pole called a blowpipe, which makes the glass fill up with air like a balloon. This is called glass blowing.
He's going to blow it so it's very, very thin.
And that means he can smash the balloon into hundreds of tiny pieces of blue glass. Glass is very dangerous once it's broken, so you should never touch or go near it. Bruce has special tools to do it safely. With the coloured bits ready, it's time to make the vase.
So the next thing Bruce does is gather some of the runny glass onto the end of his pipe.
Bruce dips it into the broken pieces of glass, and this will make the blue blobs of colour on our vase.
Listen to that. It's like the sound of a crunching crisp packet.
He then puts it back into the kiln.
Look at that. Can you see the blue glass shrinking?
The kiln is so hot, the blue pieces are melting into the hot, sticky glass on the end of the pole. Bruce then adds more colour to our vase.
We've got some green, blue, pink, and even some red spots. I've got my special camera with me so we can see all of the colour that's been added to the glass in detail.
Wow, can you see those colours? Don't they look pretty?
At the moment, the glass just looks like a sticky blob, but we want it to become a nice round shape. So how do you think Bruce is going to do that?
After the colour is added, Bruce dips it back into the kiln to add another layer of runny glass. To make the vase round, he uses a special tool called a wooden block. And then he blows down into the pipe to make it bigger.
The glass is the right size, but to get it the shape we want, we have to flatten it. And to do that, Bruce rubs it onto a piece of cork, which is a type of wood. But the glass is so hot, the wood sometimes catches fire. Can you see?
This is very dangerous, but Bruce has been specially trained to do it. The vase is finished, but it's still very hot, which is why it's so red. It's left to cool down for a few days, and then we'll be able to see its colours properly.
And after 3 days cooling down in the kiln, this is our final piece.
A wonderful glass vase. Look at the beautiful colours.
I loved seeing how glass was made. Did you? What was your favourite bit?
Can you remember the name of the long pole that was used to make the glass? That's right, it's called the blowpipe. Did you hear the crunchy sound made by the runny glass being dipped into the broken pieces? And did you see all those colours in the vase? Weren't they pretty?
So the next time you see a beautiful glass ornament or look out of a window, remember that all glass comes from sand. It's getting a bit chilly. Let's shut the door. And now you know how a lock works too, with a key and its special teeth. See you next time.
There are lots of things all around us, exciting things that surround us.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Things that go up, things that go down, things that go pop, things that go round with special cameras to show you inside. It's going to be a big surprise.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Do you know?
Let's find out!
Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I've come to this local market where they have a piano that anybody can come and play. How amazing is that? Do you play the piano? It sounds lovely, doesn't it? But what I want to know is what's going on inside the piano. Do you know how a piano works? Let's find out.
How does it work?
A piano!
We are in a piano shop. There are lots of pianos here, but they don't all look the same. This type here is called an upright piano, and that's because the main body of it, that's this bit, stands upright, just like we do. But this type here is called a grand piano, and it stretches out this way instead of upright. It's a bit like lying down. Playing a piano starts with this, a keyboard. And all these white and black bits are called keys. And each one plays a different note. Have a listen. Did you hear how each key plays a different sound? Well, there are 52 white keys and 36 black keys, and each one plays a different note. But do you know how it works? Well, to show you, we need to open this piano up. Hidden inside every piano are lots of strings. They're like the strings you would see on a guitar or a violin, but there are lots more of them. These longer, thicker strings are for the low notes. And these shorter, thinner ones are for the high notes. When the string makes a sound, it wobbles, and this wobble is called a vibration. But the best way to see the string vibrate is to see it moving really slowly. But to do this, we need my special little camera, which can film in slow motion.
Now, I'm going to press a key and I want you to look at this string here. Can you see it vibrate? That's amazing! Let's see it again.
It's exactly the same inside an upright piano, only it's all standing up this way instead of being laid out flat. Come and have a look inside this upright piano. We've taken off the front so you can see inside. Look, here are the strings, here. Now, watch what happens inside the piano when I play it. Can you see that white bit hitting the strings? This bit, it's called a hammer, and it hits the strings when I press a key, which makes the strings vibrate. But to see exactly what's going on, we need to look deeper inside the piano.
Every key is longer than it looks because it's actually part of a wooden lever. A lever is like a seesaw. When one end goes down, the other end goes up. At the end of the lever is the key. At the other end is the hammer. When a key is pressed, the end of the lever shoots upwards. This pushes another small lever up too. And it forces the hammer to hit the string so that it vibrates. As the string vibrates, it makes a musical note. When you stop pressing the key, the lever tips back and the hammer comes away from the string.
Wow, how amazing is that? And we can see it in real life here. Look, when I press this key, it pushes the wooden lever to make the hammer hit the string. Just like that. As you might be able to tell, I'm not brilliant at the piano, but I know someone who is. Meet Nick. He's going to show you just how wonderful a piano can actually sound. And I'm going to use my special camera whilst he's playing to show you the strings and hammers in action. Take it away, Nick. Wow, very good. What was your favourite thing about seeing how a piano works?
Do you remember what you call the part of the piano that hits the strings? Yes, they're called hammers. Did you hear the sounds the different keys made? Each key makes a different note. Did you see how the black and white keys are all levers, which move like a seesaw?
So now when you play or watch someone playing the piano, you'll know just how it works inside. But there are lots of other ways you could make music too. How do you like to make music? I like to play the drums. You can make big loud noises like this, or little soft noises like this. There are lots of different kinds of drums too, like this. It's called a steel drum. But you could also make your own drum out of an old pan using a couple of wooden spoons. Just make sure you ask an adult nicely first. Drums are great fun, but do you know how they're made? Let's go find out.
How is it made?
A drum.
We're in a drum factory, and making a drum begins with this. Here we have lots of very thin slices of wood. It's called veneer, and it's the first thing we need to make a drum. Come with me, and I'll show you how this turns into this. For each drum, lots of layers of veneer are stuck together with a thin layer of glue. This makes the drum nice and strong.
The glued together pieces of wood are now taken to a special machine that keeps them nicely pressed together while they dry.
And now our thin sheets of wood are ready to be made into a drum. But can you see the wood is still really bendy? That's important because a drum is round, so our wood needs to be able to bend into a round shape. Listen to that wibbly wobbly sound. Doesn't it sound funny? The drum maker is choosing the bits he wants to make a pattern around the outside of the drum. And now the wood is ready to go inside this mould. Can you see that it's round? This gives the drum its round shape. The first sheet of wood is put inside the mould and pressed together. And now another sheet of wood is added. This sheet has a layer of glue on it, so it sticks to the inside of the first sheet. Once the drum is dry, it's ready to come out of the mould. It's a bit like getting a cake out of a baking tin. This bit is called the shell. It's beginning to look like a drum, isn't it? But there's a few more stages yet. The drum needs to be nice and smooth, so it has to be sanded. Sandpaper is rough on one side, like sand. And when you rub the paper against the wood, it takes off all the rough bits, so that when you use your drum, you don't get splinters. Now it's time for some colour. Each drum is spray painted by hand, and the drum makers use something called a stain. It's a bit like paint. It makes the wood look a bit darker, but it can get very messy. So I'm going to use my special camera to get closer to all of the action. Let's go and see.
I've attached my special camera to a pole so I can stand a safe distance from the spray gun.
Ready? Take it away. Wow! Look at the paint coming out of the spray gun. That looks amazing. I'm just using the screen so I can see what's happening on the special camera. Let's just make sure the paint is even all the way around the drum. Brilliant. Zach, do you think it's finished?
Yeah.
Ready to go. Wow! And this is what the drum shell looks like once it's been painted and dried. It looks brilliant, doesn't it? But what do you think is missing? It It's the top part of the drum, the bit you hit to make the sound. And this is called the skin or the head. And for that, we need a special sheet of plastic.
But before we attach the drum's shell to the plastic skin, we have to drill some holes. Next, metal blocks called lugs are screwed into the holes, and the plastic skin is placed on top of the drum, with a metal hoop fixing it into place.
The next thing to do is put the drum to the test and check it makes a great sound. Take it away. Wow, that sounds amazing. And there you have it, a shiny new drum. What was your favourite part of making a drum?
Do you remember what the wooden part of the drum was called? That's right, it's the shell. Did you hear the wibbly wobbly sound the bendy wood made? And did you see how the drum was painted by a spray machine?
Wow! So now you know how a drum is made, from the wooden sheets that make the shell to the stretched plastic that makes the top. And we learnt how a piano works to play lovely music. Speaking of lovely music, there's only one thing left to do with this drum. See you next time.
There are lots of things all around us, exciting things that surround us.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Things that go up, things that go down, things that go pop, things that go round, with special cameras to show you inside. It's going to be a big surprise.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Do you know?
Let's find out!
Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I'm going to meet my friend Lauren. We're travelling on a bus. There are lots of other people out and about too.
Some are walking their dogs. Other people are travelling in cars, on bicycles, and of course, buses.
Hi!
Hi,
Lauren, do you like to use buses?
I love using buses. I use them a lot.
Talking of which, there's a bus now. Hello!
Have you noticed a special part of the bus that helps people to get on if they're using a wheelchair or if they can't step up too high?
Can you see that the bus is crouching down? And listen for that sound. The alarm tells us that something special is about to happen. And look, what's that coming out the side of the bus? This is a bus ramp, and it means that Lauren can get on the bus really easily. But do you know how a bus ramp works? Let's find out.
How does it work?
A bus ramp.
I've come to this factory where they make bus ramps. Here, they make almost 2,000 bus ramps every year for buses all over the world.
Here's what the ramp looks like before it goes into a bus. Let's take a closer look. Underneath the bus next to the wheels are airbags called bellows. They're full of air and keep the bus level. When the driver presses a button inside the bus, an electric signal goes to the bellows to tell them to let some air out. As the air comes out, the bus gets lower on one side. It's a bit like letting the air out of a rubber ring. When the bus is level with the pavement, the driver presses another button to make the ramp come out. Under the doors, there's a hidden box. Inside the box is a bar fixed to the ramp. When the driver presses the button, the bar moves forward and pushes the ramp out. When the ramp rests on the pavement, it's ready to be used. And then the ramp goes away, the bellows fill back up, and the bus drives off.
The bus has been brought here so we can get a good look underneath it. You should never go or play under a vehicle, but we've got permission to be here so we can put my special camera under the bus to get a closer look at the bellows. I can see what's going on the special camera by looking at the screen on my phone. Over to you, driver.
Watch the bellows here get squished as the air comes out. Can you see a big black shape coming down? That's the bus lowering, and it's squishing the bellows. Let's see it again.
Oh, listen to the hiss. That's the sound of the air coming out of the bellows. It sounds like a snake.
And now the bus has been lowered, the ramp is ready to come out.
How clever is that? And when the person is finished using the ramp, all the driver needs to do is press a button and it all goes back to how it started. The ramp goes in and the bus is lifted back up by the bellows. Just think, that bus weighs about 12 tons.
That's about the same as 4 elephants.
The bellows have to be pretty strong to lift all of that. I loved seeing how the bus was lowered and the ramp worked. What was your favourite bit?
Do you remember what you call the airbags underneath the bus, which make it go up and down? That's right, they're called bellows. Did you hear the sound the bellows made as the air came out? It made a hiss, like a snake. And did you see the way the ramp came out from a hidden box under the doors?
So the next time you see someone using a bus ramp, you'll know just how it works.
Look around. What can you see that all the buses and cars are using to get around? That's right, it's a road.
Roads are everywhere. There's probably a road by your house or flat, and if you go in a car or a bus, you'll go on a road. You might use a road to go to the shops or to school or maybe your friend's house. But do you know how a road is made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
A road.
The workers here are building a new road called a motorway. Motorways are really big roads and lots of cars and lorries travel on them. Have you been on a motorway? You should never play on a building site, but we've been given special permission to see how a road is made. First, a big digger arrives. It's called an excavator, and it works to dig up the soft ground ready for the road to be laid. Just look how much soil they're digging up. And can you hear it creaking as it scoops up the dirt, lifts it high in the air, and then dumps it in the back of the bulldozer?
After a lot of digging, the workers are ready to start building the road. First, a big truck arrives and delivers gravel.
Now that is a lot of gravel. I love the way the truck tips it all the way up in the air. I've got some gravel here. It's made of lots of little stones, and the workers need to spread it all over the area where the road is going to be made. Do you know how they're going to do it? They use a bulldozer to spread out the gravel and make it nice and flat. The bulldozer is big, isn't it? Can you see this big metal flat piece at the front? Well, that's called the blade, and it's pushing the gravel around, creating a large flat area ready for the road building to start. It's definitely noisy. Now the gravel has been laid out, this big machine called a roller is going over it.
Listen to the sound the roller makes as it rumbles and rattles along.
It's so powerful that it's making the ground shake. The roller is pressing the gravel down and squishing it all together so that it becomes hard. And this becomes the base layer of the road. It's called the formation. And then when that's done, the workers lay a second layer of gravel, and that's called the sublayer. The sublayer is made from smaller pieces of gravel, and it's spread out over the bigger gravel layer and then pressed with the roller again. The more the layers are pressed together, the stronger the road will be. And can you see that there are still little gaps between the gravel? This means that rainwater will be able to drain away so we don't end up with giant puddles on the motorway. The next layer of the road is made of something called asphalt, and the road workers lay it using this machine. It's called a paver. This is the front of the paver where the asphalt is loaded. Asphalt is made from bits of crushed rock, sand, and a black oily liquid called bitumen. Bitumen is made from oil, and it's what sticks the rocks and sand together. It's also what makes the roads strong, gives them their black colour.
This big lorry is loading the asphalt into the front of the paver. Then it comes out of the back. Can you see the steam coming off the asphalt? That's because it's been heated up to make it super, super hot so that they can pour it out of the paver and spread it around.
Now the asphalt has been spread out, it needs to be flattened down. Can you guess what machine does that? Yes, it's the roller. But this roller is special because the wheel is sprayed with water to stop the asphalt sticking to it.
Look at the steam as the water from the roller touches the asphalt. That's because it's still really hot.
To show you just how hot the asphalt is, I've got a special camera with me. This is a thermal camera, and it shows us how hot or cold things are using colour. So anything that's cold will show up as blue or purple, and anything that's warm or hot will show up as red or even white. So let's see what colour the asphalt is. Wow, okay, so if I point the thermal camera at people, you can see that they're slightly blue or purple, and that's because it's a chilly day, they're quite cold. But if I point the thermal camera at the asphalt, it looks golden. It's showing up as white and yellow, and that's because it's really, really hot. That's really interesting. So the roller on the thermal imaging camera is leaving darker streaks in the white hot asphalt, and that's because the water on the wheels is cooling it down ever so slightly. So to build a road, first the ground is dug up by an excavator. Next, the bulldozer lays the gravel and it's rolled by a roller, and then finally the asphalt is laid by a paver.
It's looking good, isn't it? But it's not quite finished yet. It has to be left to dry properly before anyone can use it.
After a few more layers of asphalt and it's been left to cool down and go hard, we have a finished road!
And now it's ready for cars and lorries to drive on. What was your favourite bit about seeing how a road was made? Do you remember the name of the machine that dug up the earth before the road was laid? That's right, it's called an excavator. Did you hear the sound the roller made when it squished all the road layers together? Did you see how hot the asphalt was when I used my special thermal camera?
So the next time you travel on a road, you'll know how it's made and you can think about all of the layers underneath. And when you see or travel on a bus, you now know how it lowers and how the ramp goes in and out to let people on and off easily. Right, that's my bus, so I've got to go. I'll see you next time.
There are lots of things all around us, exciting things that surround us.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Things that go up, things that go down, things that go pop, things that go round with special cameras to show you inside. It's going to be a big surprise.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Do you know?
Let's find out!
Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I'm at home and I've got some jobs to do. Luckily, this kitchen has a few gadgets to help me out, and this is the first one. It might look like a cupboard, but inside, it's a dishwasher. You may have one just like this at home. Dishwashers are really helpful because they clean all your dishes after you've had your lunch. Just look how clean and sparkly all the dishes are. But what I want to know is, how do they get clean? How does a dishwasher turn a dirty plate like this into a nice, clean, sparkly one like this? Do you know how a dishwasher works? Let's find out.
How does it work?
A dishwasher.
To see what goes on inside, first we need to get all the clean dishes out.
There we go. Now the dishwasher's empty, come and get a closer look at what's inside. Inside the door is a secret space. It's the soap dispenser. Just like you use soap to wash your hands, the dishes need soap to get clean too. And this is where your soap tablet or liquid soap goes. But what do you think we need to mix with the soap to get the dishes clean? Yes, you're right, it's water. But how does the water get inside? Water is pushed along this pipe here into this. It's called a spray arm. And there's one at the bottom and one at the top. It's these little holes here all the way along that spray out the water. It's a bit like a big spinning shower.
Let's discover how this dishwasher works. When the dishwasher is full of dirty pots and pans and the door is closed, we press the start button and the machinery inside springs into action. First, water starts pouring in through a little spout at the bottom. To get the dishes nice and clean, the water needs to be hot. So it's heated up by this. It's called the heating element, and as it gets hot, all the water around it gets hot too. Then it's time for some soap. You might hear that clunk noise if you listen really carefully outside a dishwasher. The soap mixes in with the water and then it's pushed through a pipe to the spray arms. As the water is sprayed at the dishes really fast, all the bits of food are washed off. The dirty water is drained away and fresh water comes in to give everything a good rinse. Like washing shampoo out of your hair. Once all the water has gone again, the clean dishes are dried with hot air.
I don't know about you, but I want to see all of that happening for myself. It would be very dangerous to climb inside or put our hands in, but I've got a way to see what happens inside the dishwasher when the dishes are being washed. This is my special camera, And it's waterproof, so it won't get damaged.
I'm going to put it in the dishwasher. Remember, this is a special camera. You mustn't do this yourself.
I've saved us a couple of dirty dishes just for this. Oh, look at all that tomato sauce. Let's pop the plates in the dishwasher. Whoop. And check the soaps in the dispenser. There it is. Are you ready? Let's go. Now the heating element will be making the water hot.
There goes the soap. And here comes the water. Listen, can you hear it all sloshing about?
That sounds like a lot of water.
Can you see the spray arms spinning?
Let's hope the water gets rid of all that tomato sauce.
It looks like it's working. And now all the water is draining away so that the dishes can be dried.
Wow! 2 clean, sparkly dishes. Clever dishwasher. And now you know what happens inside when the door is closed. I loved seeing inside the dishwasher with my special camera. What was your favourite bit?
Can you remember the name of the parts that spin around to spray the water about? That's right, they're called the spray arms. Did you hear all the water spraying around?
That sounds like a lot of water.
And did you see the compartment where the soap went into the dishwasher to wash those dirty dishes?
I'm going to have a lovely cup of tea with this clean, sparkly cup. Apart from my lovely cup of tea, what else am I using right now? It's not the teapot, it's the table. Tables are really useful, aren't they? They come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. You can eat your lunch at a table, do a drawing at a table. Lots of tables, just like this one, are made from wood. But do you know how a table is made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
A table.
To make a wooden table, you need a big tree, and you find those in a forest.
All wood comes from trees. This machinery is cutting the trees down so the wood can be used to make things.
Wow! These trees are about a year old.
This one is nearly 5, and look, it's bigger than me. But finally, they'll grow to be this big. This is a special forest, and every time a tree is cut down, a new one is grown in its place. That way, we'll always have lots of wood to make new things, like a wooden table.
And here is a busy factory where these furniture makers turn wood into brilliant things we can all use. Like a front door, a stool you can sit on, or a toy you can play with.
We're going to see how a table just like this one in the drawing is going to be made. First, the furniture makers pick the bits of wood they're going to use, and then the wood needs to be cut so it's the right size and shape. And for that, we need to use a special cutter. It's called a table saw, but it's a bit noisy, so I'm going to pop on my ear protectors.
Workshops and tools can be very dangerous, so you should never go near them without a grown-up. Wow, look how quickly the saw cuts through the wood.
The wood is now cut to the right size, but can you see it's all rough? So the furniture makers are going to make it nice and smooth. Joelle is going to use this special machine called a plane, but it's not like an aeroplane you'd see up in the sky. This plane has a very sharp edge that peels off the rough parts of the wood.
When the bottom of the wood slides across the plane, the rough bits are cut off. Can you see all the bits of wood flying off?
This is my special slow motion camera. Let's slow things down and really see what's going on, shall we?
The plane works a bit like a potato peeler. As it moves across the surface of the wood, thin slices peel off. Can you see all that wood being shaved off?
Look at all these wooden curls. Aren't they great? And look, you can see how much smoother and lighter the wood is now the top surface is gone. Now we have everything we need to make the table. These 3 pieces of wood are going to be stuck together to become our table top. And these 4 pieces will become the table legs. But how do we attach the table to the legs?
Well, we need to make a frame.
Can you see this piece of wood has a little bit sticking out the end? And then this piece has a hole cut in the middle. Watch what happens when I put them together. It's like a jigsaw. The 2 pieces have been cut perfectly so they lock together into something called a joint.
Tom attaches all 4 legs by the joints to make the table frame. He glues the tabletop together and places it on the frame.
Now this looks like a table, but it needs one last thing to finish it off. Do you know what that is?
Joelle paints the sides of the table with a nice shiny colour. And for the top, uses a special kind of paint called a varnish, which helps protect the wood.
Ta-da! It's ready, and doesn't it look amazing? To think this started off as wood from a tree and now it's a beautiful table. I loved seeing how the old wood was turned into a table.
What was your favourite part about seeing how a table was made? Do you remember the name of the machine used to smooth the wood? That's right, it's a plane. Did you like the sound of the saw? It was very noisy. And did you see the way the varnish was painted on to make it shiny?
So the next time you eat your lunch, play a game or paint a picture at a wooden table, just think of the trees that wood came from once upon a time. And now you know how the soapy water is sprayed around inside a dishwasher to clean those dirty dishes. Talking of which, I better put my dirty cup in the dishwasher. See you next time.
There are lots of things all around us, exciting things that surround us.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Things that go up, things that go down, things that go up, things that go round with special cameras to show you inside. It's going to be a big surprise.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Do you know?
Let's find out!
Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I'm in the kitchen, about to cook up something to eat. And one of my favourite things to cook are eggs. Do you like eggs? One of the best things about eggs is that there's loads of different ways you can cook them. You can boil them, fry them, scramble them, or my favourite, poach them. But have you noticed that no matter how you cook them, they always go from this, a clear, runny liquid with a yellow blob in the middle, to this, something that's hard and white. How does an egg work? And do you know where eggs come from? Let's find out.
How does it work?
An egg.
You can buy eggs in all sorts of places. The supermarket, your local shop, or even an egg farm like this.
But do you know which animal most eggs come from?
That's right, chickens. Listen to the sound they're making. It's like a little cluck, 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 isn't it? It's actually quite noisy. Let's go see where these chickens lay their eggs. Excuse me. Hello, girls. This is a chicken coop, and it's where the chickens live and lay their eggs. This chicken here is making some rather funny noises. So I think she might be about to lay an egg. Let's go around the side and see if we can find it. Oh, the chickens have been busy. Look how many eggs they've laid. Aren't you clever, girls? Let's collect some of these and take them home. So now you know where eggs come from, but why do the inside of eggs go hard and white when you cook them? Do you know? Let's find out.
To show you how this turns into this, we need to get cooking. So let's crack a new egg into the poaching pan.
But remember, if you want to cook anything at home, you should always get a grown-up to help you.
There are two parts to an egg. This clear bit around the side is called the egg white, and then the yellow blob in the middle is called the egg yolk. Keep an eye on them as they cook and watch what happens.
We're speeding this up a bit so you can see it happen. Can you see how quickly the clear gooey bit is going white and the yellow bit in the middle, the yolk, is changing too?
It's gone quite firm. It took just a few minutes to cook, but what's going on inside the egg to make it go white and hard? To find out, we need to take a closer look.
Here comes a chicken. Inside the chicken, a little egg grows. It gets bigger and bigger until it pops out. Thank you! The egg is cracked into the pan. Inside egg whites and yolks are lots of very, very tiny things called proteins floating in liquid. They are so tiny we can't see them with our eyes. Each protein is twisted and curled up. When the egg is heated, the proteins start to uncurl and join together. As the egg gets hotter and the chains join up, they make a crisscross pattern which traps the liquid inside. As this happens, the egg turns white and the yolk goes hard.
How brilliant is that? All of that going on inside one egg. Well, I've got one egg for my tea, but I think I want two. So let's cook another one, but this time use my special camera. This is a thermal camera and it shows me what's hot and what's cold using different colours.
Let's heat this egg up and see what it looks like.
And wow! You can see that the flame is white. That's because it's super, super hot. And the egg inside is blue. That's because I've only just put it in, so it's still cool from being in the kitchen. Let's keep an eye on it and see if this egg changes colour as it gets hotter and hotter.
Look, you can see the outside of the egg is turning yellow because as it's cooking, it's getting warmer. The inside of the egg is still blue because it's not cooked yet, so it's still cold.
Come on, yolk, catch up.
And just a few moments later, the egg is now all yellow and green, which means it's warm and almost cooked.
All of those proteins will be uncurling and forming the crisscross pattern that traps the water droplets. And if I have a look at it, the egg's gone white and the yolk has gone firm. That means it's cooked and ready to eat.
What was your favourite bit about seeing how an egg works? Do you remember what happened to the egg as it was cooking? It went hard and white. Did you hear the clucking sounds the chickens made? And did you see my thermal camera showing the egg turning from blue to yellow and green as it was cooked?
My eggs are yummy. And the next time you have eggs or you see eggs being cooked, you'll know just what's going on inside them. I don't know about you, but when I have eggs, I like to have toast. It's just bread that's been popped in the toaster or under the grill for about a minute till it's crunchy and hard, like this. So, you know how toast is made, but what about the bread? Do you know how bread is made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
Bread.
This is a bakery. There are lots of different types of bread made here, and the main ingredient is flour.
So I've come to a mill and here they make flour. But this flour here is made from a plant that's grown on farms. It's called wheat. And this is called an ear of wheat. Inside this bit at the top, we find some grains. And these grains are taken into the mill to be turned into flour.
First, the grains are crushed by rollers into smaller pieces. This is called milling. Next, the milled grains go through this strange-looking machine.
It's called a sifter. It works a little bit like a sieve you might have at home, only this one is a giant wobbly box. It gets rid of all of the rough bits and leaves only the soft flour. And here we have the finished flour straight from the sifter. It's lovely, light and soft.
The flour is loaded into a lorry called a tanker through this big yellow tube.
And then it'll be driven off to the bakery, ready to be turned into a loaf of bread. And this is the bakery. The tanker is offloading the flour into these enormous containers called silos.
There are smaller silos which contain the other ingredients: salt mixed with water, vegetable fat and yeast.
Do you know what yeast is? Well, it's a special ingredient that helps make bread rise.
It works best when it's kept nice and warm.
All of the main ingredients come into the bakery through pipes in the ceiling, and then they go to a giant mixer. Look at that! A huge ball of bread dough just plops out. That would make one enormous loaf of bread, wouldn't it?
The dough goes into this machine to be divided. Each chunk makes one loaf.
If you've ever made bread at home, you'll know you have to do something called kneading. And kneading is when you use the heel of your hand to press and stretch the dough. It makes it stretchy and elastic, which helps the bread to rise. Kneading takes quite a long time, so the bakery have come up with this clever cone-shaped machine to do the job quickly. Look how fast the dough is whizzing around the machine, being kneaded. The special camera lets us see things in slow motion, so we can see in detail how the kneading machine twists and turns the bread.
Look how the machine rolls the dough. It looks like a football.
Once the pieces of bread dough have been kneaded, they need to rest. And this stage is called proving, and it happens here on these moving shelves. During proving, the special ingredient, yeast, starts to work to make the dough rise. And after about 8 minutes, the dough is dropped onto these conveyor belts, where it goes to get rolled. Proofed dough goes through a series of rollers where it's shaped and rolled to be the right length. They look a bit like sausages, don't they?
From here, the dough is dropped into baking tins and continues along the conveyor belt to another machine, which gently warms the dough. This makes the yeast work a second time so that the bread rises again.
Here the bread comes now. Can you see how much bigger each loaf is? The yeast has worked inside the dough to make it rise. The dough is almost ready to be baked, but there's just time for a few finishing touches. That might be a dusting of flour on top, or in this case, a sprinkling of seeds. The loaves are heading into this enormous oven. It's 39 meters long, and that's the same as 4 buses. The loaves stay in the oven for around 25 minutes, and then they come out here. Can you see they've turned a lovely golden brown colour? Can you hear that noise? That's the sound of the loaves being sucked out of the baking tins. Sounds a bit like a steam train, doesn't it?
The finished loaves are cooled, sliced, put in packets, and then taken in crates to the warehouse.
Just look how much bread there is. It takes 4 hours to make a loaf of bread here, and now it's ready to go to the shops for people like you and me to buy and eat. Yum. What did you like most about seeing how bread is made?
Can you remember the main ingredient of bread that comes from wheat? That's right, it's flour. Did you hear the machine that sucks up the loaves from the tins? And did you see the kneading machine slow down on my special camera?
So the next time you sit down to eat some bread, you'll know just how it's made. And you also know what happens inside an egg when it's cooked. Now, I'm going to take this freshly made loaf home with me for my lunch. I'll see you next time.